This is one of the pictures that we often have to do here to kind of illustrate a point. This is a pretty Vietnamese girl reading one of the local English language papers with the story of Johnson finally ordering the bombing halt.
I don't think that Americans will leave the country. I have seen them at work. And I think that what they want, not to leave Vietnam, but what they want is to stay in Vietnam.
We have a release on a couple of captured documents. These documents were picked up in Quinhua Province by units of the United States 9th Infantry Division on October 29, 1968, and concern the preparations made by the National Front for the liberation of South Vietnam for the President Johnson's announcement of a bombing halt.
Soon, there may be peace in Vietnam, and the killing may be stopped for a while. But we do not believe that this political peace will have a long effect. The peace that comes to my country will be a short agreement. The peace can only last long if the people turn to follow the Dao.
The Mekong River, approaching one of the holy places of Vietnam, the island of Phuong. We went to look for the beginnings of peace in Vietnam. Neither side has ever fired at this island. It is the only place we found any peace in Vietnam. These are the Taoists. It's said that if all religions are rivers, this is the lake into which they flow. This is the only community in South Vietnam without a curfew, and every hour of every day, the members of the sect gather to pray for peace. We were the first film crew ever to be allowed on this island, thanks to an ex-GI.
I was always fascinated with how there could be bombing all night, and the next morning the marketplace would open up. We dropped defoliants all over this country, and the jungle grows back. Asia cannot be put down by technology. There was something, so timeless going on here that had nothing to do with politics or 20th century political thought.
On the night of the American elections, Ambassador Bunker spoke to American forces in Vietnam.
My fellow Americans, the events of the past several days have been historic ones in the struggle for peace in Vietnam. President Johnson's decision to cease the bombing of North Vietnam will be a test of Hanoi's serious intentions.
The Asian mind, which is particularly in Vietnam steeped in Taoism, which is the oldest Asian philosophy, views the universe as something kind of very lazily at play with itself. This is the year of the monkey, according to the Chinese calendar, and the next year, this coming year, 1969, will be the year of the cock. This war, its start and finish between the year of the monkey and the cock were predicted 150 years ago. It's not unique in being a force for peace. It's unique in being peace itself. There's war all around this island. We've seen airstrikes, bombardments. Not a shot has ever been fired on this island. These people here care nothing about war. They scorn it and are happy in spite of it. Other peace groups talk about peace. These people live in peace. There's a difference.
As we work in close and friendly relations with our Vietnamese allies, I ask each of you to be understanding of their concerns. Our support of the people of South Vietnam and our common determination has gained for them many military successes and major advances in bettering their life. Each of us must continue to work in that same spirit until the goal of peace for this war-ravaged land is reached. Thank you.
If the American troops stay here, it won't be too bad, but if they pull us out, I think the economy is going to drop way down. And I've had Vietnamese civilians working for me, and I don't see how they're going to live if we pull out.
Meaning because your money will have gone, or what? Or your support?
Our support. Also, the people here are not really educated, I believe, and they need help in this field. And if the United States pulls out and leaves them, they're hurting.
I don't think it's going to win for a long time. We all said back in, I don't know, July, we all said that since this campaign on DMZ had stopped, the war had stopped too. We all wrote it on one flashlight. The war's over, and we all decided to go home. We all stayed. The war's still going on. There's a bombing halt, and the war's still going on. As soon as the Americans pulls out, there's still going to be a war between the Vietnamese and the NLF, Viet Cong, or the NVA, North Vietnamese. Special forces are going to stay. The advisors are going to stay. Sure, there's still going to be a war.
Naturally, they will have to live someday soon. But it is the law of the Tao and Buddhist karma that the Americans must do something good to cancel out what was bad.
Saigon correspondent of the New York Daily News is Joe Freed.
I mean, you know the domino theory. I mean, the entire domino theory is lose one and you lose them all. I personally feel that, while I agree with the domino theory in essence, I think that we would have been wiser in South Vietnam playing poker instead of dominoes. I think we would have been far wiser playing the cards closer to our chest. For instance, I think that we made a very bad mistake in spelling out our war plans to North Vietnam, saying we're not going to invade North Vietnam.
In history, politics was treachery. And if you read well Machiavelli,
you may find that treachery is a virtue, is a quality. And that's true. That's true.
Same ways you might not go home from Vietnam. One is with the services of the Viet Cong. The other is by being run over by a motor scooter or a runaway ox cart. For the former, keep your weapon handy and keep it in good condition. For the latter, look both ways before crossing the street.
Locke is 12. He sells newspapers. He is drawing a picture of the Vietnamese National War Monument. On the other side of the main square, two GIs pose for a souvenir snap.
Okay. It's color picture.
Good.
Wow. Polaroid camera.
Polaroid, huh?
Yeah.
Color, huh?
It could be an interesting place to be if there weren't a war going on.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good picture.
There you are. Presento. That's for you.
Some say this is a Vietnamese pushing an American into action. Others say it is an American pushing a Vietnamese.
I think the Ciclo driver, who has netted far greater tips than he deserves, will look back upon it fondly. I think that the people who charge, equivalent perhaps 50 cents for plus service charge for a cup of coffee will look back on it fondly. I think there'll be some scars. We've had these accidental bombings of villages, these tragic mishaps, and I think that this will leave a bad taste.
Here we have what the public likes very much, which is one of the, I suppose, human interest sides of the war. A little dog. The whole area around here had been completely blasted. There were the houses that had been standing were just sheets of corrugated iron lying on the ground, and despite all the killing that had gone on, this little dog was still alive, and here's a GI playing with him.
What do you think would happen to Vietnam if peace came?
Well, I think some drastic things would happen. I think like in any other wartime economy, which the Vietnamese people right now are solely, I would say maybe 60–70% are making their money off working for the American soldiers, either by way of warswomen or PX, whatever. And I think if we left, it would be a drastic blow to their economy. They would have to go back to living how they did before, due to the fact that they would not be able to live off of money being made through Americans.
This was over in Tay Ninh. This civilian here was hit, presumably by one of the South Vietnamese soldiers by mistake. They walked into the village with their guns blaring forth, and they hit this poor guy, who I imagine eventually died. I don't know. It's one of the frustrating things about this war, that you never ever know what happens to these people. There was a whole series of quite good pictures on this. Well, I mean, it's obviously screwing them up. I mean, the Vietnamese themselves feel that, you know, the whole country is being degraded by the American presence. I mean, you've only got to look at the bars, the brothels that spring up, you know, anywhere where an American base is installed. I mean, really, they're the ones that are losing. I mean, America is gaining in many ways by this war.
You're at the end of another busy day in the Army. Now you want to visit the library and relax with a good book, or go bowling, or perhaps take in a movie. The Army Special Services is there to offer you, the servicemen, recreational facilities no matter where you're stationed around the world, helping to keep American fighting forces morale up. That's the important mission of the Army Special Services.
I don't think that they leave. Everything they have did here in Vietnam attests the strong, firmly, they will to stay.
Why?
Big bases, much more. They pour here 500,000 troops, and on report, it was one of 8 men stay in the base and 1 man in fighting. That means they have a lot of GI non-fighting GI.
But then why do you think the Americans will not leave?
Why? Oh, I think that the Pentagon can answer you it clearly more than I did here.
The strength of the communists in South Vietnam rests in the rural areas, not in the urban areas. And as such, they have fashioned their entire approach and aimed their approach at the peasant, without a doubt. This is the suffering element. This is the area in which they chance to gain most, and obviously they've seized that opportunity and exploited it.
Isn't it, in fact, the urban elements, the cyclo drivers and so on, who have gained from the presence of the GI,
without a doubt,
they are the only people who will in fact regret that the GI has gone?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think really seriously that we, meaning the Americans, the Allies here, I think that we have, in many instances, raised the standards in the countryside. I think we made a very serious effort. I think we've done a great deal for the farmer. We've insisted over the years that the South Vietnamese government take land reform off the books and into the heartland, make it real. We have provided lots of aid and diversified aid, not enough perhaps, but I think we've made a serious effort. Now, obviously, that effort is aimed politically at lining up the peasant behind the government of South Vietnam. We're not altruists. We're not giving things away. We have a purpose in mind, just as the communists have.
I've noticed that these people here seem to be on the almost the primitive stage of on the scale of Far Eastern culture, and I think by us being here, it has helped them to be more commercialized, and I think they are slowly gaining in rising standard of economy, rising standard of living, and so forth.
Serving the capital, this is AFPN Saigon.
Say, would you like to receive a Christmas present this year? Well, that's kind of a silly question. And, of course, you'd like for yours to arrive on time.
Look at the bear to understand me. It was made from the bullets of this war. The Americans must turn their weapons of destruction to tools for construction and make tractors from bombs and guns.
How long did the talks go on in Korea? There were more Americans killed after the start of the talks in Korea than before. Fighting was much heavier. I'm not saying it's going to be heavier here, but there'll still be fighting. There'll still be a lot of fighting. Sit in the rice fields. Mountain in the back is Nilikoto, which is VC battalion sitting on it. These weird little looking helicopters are a fixed rotor blade, is a Loach. 2 of those with miniguns on them and 2 Cobras. So instead of having a squad in the ground, you've got like 2 companies in the air and 1 squad in the ground. It's a lot of P. It's 1 squad. Very nasty people. It really scares the wits out of them. They don't quite understand what's going on, I think. This is what Special Forces are doing, keep doing, and as long as this place exists.
You ever speculated what the villagers will think when they think back on the Americans?
They probably think Americans are crazy people.
as the #1 story in the world, Vietnam is still there. It's way up top. I don't think for a long, long time there will be one story, one locality that will kind of capture the imagination of the whole world as Vietnam has done.
And what makes you have to photograph all this?
What makes anybody want to do anything? I prefer to take pictures of something which is totally black and white, total reality, than I would of something which is, I mean, who really wants to watch the Queen walk around, you know? I mean, it's just not interesting. At least here you're seeing history made, you're seeing something exciting.
But it's violence, and you seem in a way to be part of it.
Maybe I dig the violence. Yeah, I dig what is violent. I dig violent music. But you've got to remember this is still the East. There's still a lot of very, very soft Oriental things going on here. There's a complete contrast, the black and white. Total reality.
Through their history, these people, as small a country as it is, have endured the Chinese hordes and Dow Chemical Company. There's something very special about the Vietnamese. I think within the next 20 years, Vietnam, who has a country that has the versatility and skill of these people, will learn how to better use the Americans, the Russians, the communists, the capitalists to their own advantage. I feel that if they're smart, the smallest country in the world will be the little flea that made all these big dogs jump around. And I hope it's the flea that gets fat.
Finally, we spoke to the island's leader, the Dao Dua, who is under a vow of silence until peace comes. We asked if he thought the bombing halt was a hopeful sign. Did he think that peace would come to Vietnam during the next year? He will not speak again until President Ho Chi Minh of North Vietnam and President Chu of South Vietnam meet face to face. If that is a fairy tale idea, they could only meet on this fairy tale island.